What we do here is go back.
What's up everybody, it's Seth from Fowler Customs, and I've been walking around in the Vapormax for about 2 weeks now. I just wanted to let you guys know what I thought. So when I first saw this shoe, I thought it was pretty ugly. I'm really not a fan of these sort of AirPods on the bottom. I realize that's the main draw of the shoe, but aesthetically, I think it looks kind of dumb. I'm not a fan of it still. I have, however, really grown to like the colorway. I think it's really clean, I think it's really subtle, and I dig that portion of the shoe. But the big question I had about this shoe before it released was, can this compete with the Ultra Boost, and would this eventually replace my Ultra Boost comfort-wise? And the short answer is no, at least in my opinion. So if you're watching this video for that reason, to find out which one I like better, it's gonna be the Ultra Boost, no question. But the reason I wanted to make this video is because there are some things about the Vapormax that I actually really like. So since I am comparing the two shoes, I might as well make this a versus video. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about is one of my favorite parts of both shoes, and that's the upper. The upper on the Vapormax is made up of Flyknit, and then you have Flywire holding the laces in place, and that Flywire actually really helps the laces lock your foot down, which I really dig. If you're wondering what this feels like on foot and you haven't tried the Vapormax, if you have a pair of Flyknit racers, I mean, it feels exactly the same. And that's actually something I really like about this shoe, because I love the upper of the Flyknit racers, and I'm glad they didn't change it too much, because I think the Flyknit uppers that Nike has been using on a lot of their shoes is a real strong point. And that's actually one of the reasons I grabbed this shoe, because I love the way those uppers feel. On the Ultra Boost, Adidas utilizes Prime Knit, which is their proprietary knit technology. And honestly, I really love this upper too. It's a lot stretchier than the Flyknit, so if you prefer sort of a looser feeling fit, this might be the way to go. However, for me personally, although I love this upper, it almost feels too sock-like. So if I were to actually run in this shoe, which I have in previous Ultra Boosts, it almost feels like my foot just, I guess, isn't contained enough. And that's really not a bad thing. It's more of just a personal preference. I love the way this upper feels for lifestyle wear, but when I actually run in the shoe, it just feels like there's not enough holding my foot to the shoe. Whereas on the Flyknit Vapormax, although the upper isn't as stretchy and actually is pretty significantly stiffer than the Ultra Boost, I feel like it just gives my foot a little bit more containment. And when I'm doing anything performance driven, like running or anything like that, I kind of prefer a tighter fit around my foot, because for me it just makes the shoe feel more connected to my foot and more responsive. And that's why for performance applications, I might actually prefer the Flyknit upper of the Vapormax to the Prime Knit upper of the Ultra Boost. However, when it comes to lifestyle wear, I really think I prefer the Prime Knit of the Ultra Boost, because like I mentioned before, it really feels like a sock-like fit, and it gives you that sort of breathability that you're looking for when you're wearing a shoe all day. Now, to be honest, no matter what you're doing, I think you'll be fine in either upper, because they're both excellent uppers, and they're both really top of the line for each of their brands. It's really just a preference thing. If you prefer a looser, more sock-like fit, go with the Ultra Boost. If you prefer sort of a tighter, more closer to your foot feeling fit, go with the Flyknit. Another quick thing before I move on, the Flyknit Vapormax doesn't really have any padding in the upper whatsoever. I mean, it's all just Flyknit, whereas the Ultra Boost is basically just Prime Knit from the toe to the midfoot, and then from the midfoot back to the heel, there's a bunch of this really soft plush padding, and I really prefer the padded fit of this shoe. It just feels more comfortable around my heel, especially when you're walking in the shoe all day. Another thing I prefer about the Ultra Boost is this heel area here. Because there's no padding around the ankle on the Vapormax, sometimes I found it would dig into the back of my foot, whereas on the Ultra Boost, you basically have this like extended pillow kind of caressing the back of your ankle. I realize that's kind of a dumb metaphor, but it's really what I think of when I think of the back of this shoe. It's just so comfortable and so plush. I would take this ankle area over the Vapormaxes any day of the week. Moving down to the real differentiator between each of these shoes, the cushion. Now this is where you can get a lot of sneakerheads heated, because a lot of people are huge fans of Boost and live and die by the Boost. And there are still a lot of Air Max heads and Nike heads around, so these guys still have a pretty solid following as well. In full disclosure, I'm a Boost guy. I always take Boost over pretty much any other cushioning. It's just because it's so comfortable and it's pretty responsive. I just love it. But I've got to be honest, I think Nike's onto something with the Vapormax. Visually, I hate the way the Vapormax pods look. I think they look like trash. And when I first saw the Ultra Boost, I really thought this looked like styrofoam, and I wasn't a fan of it either. but this really grew on me. This, on the other hand, I just don't think there's any potential to grow on me at all. I think if it keeps looking like this, I mean, I'm just never gonna like it. But visuals aside, I think there's something to be said for the Vapormax cushion. If you haven't tried either shoe, the way I would describe the cushioning is that Boost is, I guess, kind of similar to memory foam, except a little bit more bouncy and responsive, whereas Vapormax almost feels like you're bouncing on a trampoline. And I think there's benefits to both. I actually really prefer this for lifestyle and even basketball because it provides a lot of impact protection, whereas this guy, I don't love lifestyle-wise because it makes you feel so high off the ground, and in a lot of cases, I really felt like it was a little unstable. However, when I was running in the shoe, it really did feel like I was running on a trampoline, and it gave me this crazy, like, bounce back response. I mean, it was wild. It was really, really weird, but I liked it. Other than the cushion itself, there is one difference between the midsoles of each shoe. In the Ultra Boost, you're literally just walking on Boost cushion. I mean, there's an insole, but when you pick up the insole, it's basically just Boost underneath. Whereas on the Vapormax, although you don't really have a midsole, you do have this like pretty thin plastic shank plate almost that runs the entire length of the shoe. And I think that plate is one of the contributing factors to the trampoline effect that you get when you run. However, when you're just walking and you're not pressing on the air units hard enough to get that response, it almost feels like you're walking on like a kind of stiff or kind of hard surface, and that I really didn't like. And another thing for me is that I felt like the Vapormax felt kind of unstable, especially in the medial side of the shoe. If you notice on these brown areas, that's actually an extra piece of plastic that reinforces the air unit, and it's a much stiffer material than just the plain air unit itself. So what I found is that if I took a step that leaned more to the medial side of the shoe, this would compress pretty heavily, and this side wouldn't compress at all. So it almost felt like the shoe would rock this way. And that's what really bummed me out because that's where I really felt unstable. And I'm sure most people out there tend to walk more on this side of their foot, and that's why Nike put that extra reinforcement here. But for me personally, I just didn't like it. It felt too much like I was gonna roll my ankle. I didn't like it. So when it comes to cushion for lifestyle wear, I'd pick Boost every time. Performance-wise, if you really like that trampoline effect or that bouncy feel when you run, the Vapormax definitely isn't a bad way to go. But honestly, I'd probably still run in my Ultra Boost. Overall, these are both definitely solid shoes, and they're both in a similar price range. The Ultra Boost is $180 and the Vapormax is $190. In my opinion, I think the Ultra Boost is a better choice. Not only is it $10 cheaper, but it's a better looking shoe and it's a great lifestyle shoe. Performance-wise, I think it's a toss-up. If you're running casually, either of these would be fine. If you're a real serious performance runner, you're probably not even gonna be looking at these shoes. You'll be looking at a different brand completely. So it really all depends on preference and what brand you prefer. But let's be real, if you're going off purely aesthetics, I mean, let's be real. The Vapormax looks like it has a mouth guard on the bottom of it. Not a fan. That's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Make sure to leave a comment in the comment section down below letting me know which shoe you prefer and if you have either of them. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to Fowler Customs if you want to see more content just like this. And follow Fowler Customs on Snups, Instagram, and on Twitter.